Well, if this is your first time visiting my channel, just so you know, I'm Jenny Ari. I am the Gringa Salvadoreña. And you may have seen me on my redes and TikTok, or you may have seen me here at Perfect Chaos, my YouTube channel, or you may have seen me around El Salvador. I've been surprised at how many of you guys have come up and said hello, and please always feel welcome to say hi, because I'm just another Salvi like everybody else, or at least I'm trying to be. And I hope you've gotten a lot of joy out of seeing all the joy that I get from living in El Salvador and the truth of what this country is instead of the media. Because that's kind of why I started this channel, because that's been the theme of this channel for at least the past 100 videos, probably 120 videos. But things weren't always this way. This channel originally started way back in May of 2021, and if you scroll all the way back, you'll find in some of my very first videos, it was called Perfect Chaos because in January of 2021, I found myself all of a sudden single, a mom of 7 kids, my income completely cut, starting back over from scratch again at 44. That was not planned at all. Honestly, I was in shock. I was like, how did this happen? Like, this is not the plan. Nobody has 7 kids thinking, oh, but what happens if one day I'm all on my own? No. But now that was over. And I seriously didn't know what to do. I felt like a complete failure. Yet at the same time, God was telling me that I hadn't failed, that I had just completed everything I'd promised I would do in my marriage, which was such a weird concept to me, because we always think, well, it's either you do it right and you stay married, or you mess up and you split up. And I was racking my brain over how did we mess up, and in the end, I'm like, no, like we didn't. So there I was, and full-fledged COVID was running through. And me and my kids were staying in a borrowed house on a lake way out in the country, like 90 minutes from the city, on lockdown. All these emotions were swirling inside of me. All these emotions and misunderstandings were swirling inside of my kids in this tiny borrowed house. And I mean, it was just symbolic. It was just symbolic of everything that was going on inside of us. And I just came to this point. I said, you know what? No. Okay. Gotta snap out of this. We have to do something drastic, because we're just going to kill each other if we don't. And so I said, you know what? We're going to go on a trip. Doesn't matter if we get COVID. We're going to kill each other either way if we stay inside this tiny house. I went on this lifelong kind of dream I always had to explore Central America, because at the time you couldn't fly anywhere, so you had to drive. So yeah, we sold most of our material possessions, and I put what was left in my little trailer and in my van, and we took off. And we crossed the Mexican border on April 1st, April Fool's Day, kind of ironic, isn't it? 2021, on a prayer and with just pure faith and trust that, and a promise that I had personally received from God, that He would take care of us. Because trust me, I'm not that crazy or that stupid to go on a journey driving by myself alone through Central America, even with my pretty good Spanish, with my 5 daughters. Yes, I have 5 daughters. My 2 boys decided they were ready to grow up and strike out on their own, and so They chose to stay in the US. I know you're thinking, are you flipping crazy? You went on a road trip with your girls through Central America? And you know what? Maybe I was a little, but with that promise from God that I would have angels all around me, I knew we'd be okay. And honestly, I had a prayer in my heart that was, God, lead me to a place to have the values that are my values, to a people that are humble and haven't forgotten you, and most of all, to a community. Because, hello, I had so many kids, and most of them were teenagers. They weren't listening to me anyway. I knew I needed a community that could support me. And holding that prayer in my heart, I jumped because I didn't know where anywhere else I could go either. We had already I had homeschooling on the road, and we had already done that before. So it's also not that crazy of a notion, because we had explored Europe before. So I mean, we were already nomads, so it wasn't that different for my kids either. And it was an amazing trip. We spent about a month in every country. We drove through Mexico. We spent a month in Guatemala and passed through El Salvador and on to a month in Honduras. And we even got to stay up on the islands of Honduras, up at Utila. And we studied marine biology at Utila. I mean, it was an amazing, awesome adventure with memories that my kids will never, ever forget. And honestly, God's hand guided us every single day. As a life coach, I kind of used it as a proof of concept because we got up every morning and we manifested, and we kind of co-created with God what experience we wanted to have that day, and then we let it come. Yeah, and it was unforgettable, totally unforgettable. And there were days where we thought we could see no way out, especially at border crossings like Nicaragua. And there were days that I just turned to the girls and I said, can somebody pinch me? Are we really here? Are we really doing this? This is amazing. We spent a month in Nica, and then when we got to Costa Rica, like most gringos, and most of the gringos only know about Costa Rica. That and like Cancun, Quintana Roo. I thought Costa Rica was going to be the bomb. It was going to be the place. And I got there and it was Costa Rica. It was not the place. It was super expensive. The government robbed me. Then I got robbed by a host that I was staying with, and it was very dirty, and there was a lot of classism, and it was not the paradise I was looking for. That was for sure. It was beautiful. Okay, I don't want to get tons of comments of you guys saying, oh, but you don't know my Costa Rica. Look, Costa Rica is like the California of Central America. It's gorgeous. You cannot compete with the naturaleza, with the nature and the environments that you can find in Costa. But it is crazy expensive and just not worth it to live there. Kind of like California. You can't pass on Big Sur, on the sequoias. They're amazing. But all the other things about California kind of say, it doesn't matter about the nature. I ain't living here. So after Costa, it became obvious that that wasn't the place for us. And my girls went back for some time with their dad, back to the States. And at that point, I had to ask. I asked and I said, okay, God, where are you leading me? Where is a place that needs me? And where is a place that has a community that I need? And it was obvious of all the places that I'd been through, all the states I had lived in the U.S. I even came back to the U.S. to double check and make sure I wasn't supposed to move back. No, El Salvador was the one that had it all. It had a humble people. It had a, a culture and a government that was still pushing, God and family and the virtue and sovereignty, like the virtues and principles that I believe in and that I live by. And I got great roads, great beaches, and I had a really good friend in El Salvador who I'd met at church that had given me a tour around, me and my girls a tour, and I knew it would help me out a lot. He was a great guy. So I went back and I said, okay, I'm going to double check. I think El Salvador might be the place. And when I came back, it was just obvious. Everything opened. All the doors opened. Everything I manifested and asked for almost immediately. Boom, 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 boom. There it was. I went back to visit the US and to pick up my kids. And whew, door closed, door closed, door closed. It was, it was, nah, everything was blocked for the US. And that's honestly how I was led to El Salvador. I didn't know anything about Bukele. I didn't know anything about Bitcoin. The only thing I didn't even know about the gangs. The only thing I knew about El Salvador was that San Salvador was the capital. And I knew that from my 7th grade geography quiz. But I knew that God had led me here. I didn't know why, but I just trusted. Fast forward, I get here and I start walking around El Salvador, and I'm like, this is nothing like the media says it is. And all of my friends, all of my family are like, are you crazy? You're going to the most dangerous place, the most murderous place, and they're going to steal the children and traffic them. And I'm like, excuse me, but I got boots on the ground. And that's not what I'm seeing. And that's when my channel flipped. Because before we had been recording the perfect chaos of our trip of driving down to Central America, just kind of being led where we were guided, and found the perfect, most amazing country to bless me and bless my family. And fast forward a little bit, I start making videos showing this amazing country to my family back home and to the world and you guys.